I get asked a lot, like, why did I want to freeze my eggs? There was an element of me that wanted to feel like I'm taking charge of my body and like take an ownership as well.
Hey Hans, it's your girl Tolly T and welcome to another episode of the My Love Is podcast brought to you by Bumble, the dating app that puts women firmly in control. Now, we're going to talk all the things. We're going to talk about dating in your 30s and we're going to talk for real. We're going to get into big topics.
Oh,
big bang topics. I want this to feel like no one else is here and we are in the girls group chat.
Right.
And we're being honest and we're talking to each other, we're being for real and we're actually not spilling too much tea, maybe warm tea. Not too hot, like warm tea.
Not piping.
Yeah, not piping hot, because you know that's our business. I'm very excited to be talking to Zeze Millz and Irene.
Thanks for having me.
Hi Hans, how are you?
I'm good.
Do you know what, this feels like I'm going to be fake if I'm like, let's warm up, because I know you both, we've been chatting, we know what's going to happen. But I want to play a game with you guys.
Okay.
Let's go.
It is a game that I've stolen it. I've taken some questions from the Bumble question game. It's like more for other people to get to know you a bit more. Because I feel like I know the answers to this. So I'll answer as well, yeah? Okay, cool. It's easy, okay. What's the secret to getting to know you? It's a quick fire one.
Making me laugh.
Irene?
Food. Food.
Yeah.
I'm going to just leave it there. Food.
I'm old school conversation, you know. I can still do an 8 hour, like, maybe not a FaceTime. Because I want to
falling on asleep on the phone.
The pillow talk.
I miss that. And do you know when like your body's angled in a weird angle because you're enjoying the conversation so much? I still like a bit
And then
of
you're
that.
like, oh my God, what time is it? 6. Oh my God, I've got to get up in 2 hours.
Oh God, yeah. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, that was so worth it.
I know. And then they text you and they're
Butterfly
like,
days.
did you wake up on time? And you're like, yeah.
I love that we're all the same people.
I know, right?
Okay, who are you weirdly attracted to? I'll go first.
God.
To make it easier for you guys. Simon Cowell.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Oh my God, I'm Alan Sugar. Yeah, Alan Sugar. I've got this
Simon
weird thing
Cowell.
for Alan Sugar. There's something
And I
about
know
him.
I shouldn't, but like I really do.
Yeah,
fancy
me
Alex.
too. I used to watch The Apprentice and be like, one day maybe.
Do you know what? I had that with Simon Cowell because I knew he likes black women. I was like, oh,
Does
yeah.
he? You have got a chance.
He used to date
Sunita.
Yeah.
Who's mine? Oh.
There must be someone that
There
you're...
must be someone that's a bit like. Also, Max Mann in EastEnders.
Oh my God, me too.
Oh, Max Bannon was
Max,
a moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
We used to have
yes.
that bad boy.
Yeah.
So before we elevated, I knew that wasn't good for us.
And I don't want Jake Wood, which is the actual person. I want Max Bannon.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Because when you see him in real life, you're like, you're not giving.
I
What?
want the character.
Yeah.
I want the character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say Max Bannon then?
I'll say Max
Okay, cool, nice. Amongst your friends, what are you most known for?
Minister of enjoyment, fun times,
You
vibes.
are. You
Yeah,
are a
yeah,
great
Irene,
time.
you are.
Irene is a great time out.
Thanks, guys.
I guess talking a lot.
Yeah.
Like I talk a lot. Like I call my friends and talk a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm always venting or like, oh my God, you just guess what happened? This is what happened. Why did this happen to me? Da, 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 da. That's the type of friend I am. But I'm also very good at listening. It's not just one way thing. So
Right,
my friends
okay.
call me a lot to be like, oh my God, this is what's happened. And you know.
yeah.
I love a good chat as well. I
Oh
think
my
I'm a
God.
chatter. But also, from very early, I'm that short girl that likes trouble. Do you know every group has that short girl that's just lippy for no reason?
Ready.
And I'll be lippy, I'll be like, well, it doesn't have to be a problem. You started the whole thing. I think that's what I'm known for, but I'm trying to change my ways. Okay, what did you usually get in trouble for as a kid?
Talking too much.
Talking too much.
Absolutely.
Talking
Every
too much.
report was talking
Talk too much and always
too
wanting
much.
to get the last word in.
Yeah,
My mum
yeah.
always be like, you always have to say the last thing. I was like, well, you do because you just said I always want to get the last thing. So who really wants to get the last thing in?
Yeah, I was a chatty
I was
girl.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chatty as well.
Yeah.
Okay, when did you last stay up late and why?
I feel like lateness is just in our lifestyle now.
It's work now.
Whether
It's
it's
not
like
anything
work,
exciting.
out.
Yeah, it's
Because
just
it
like,
wasn't
it's
for anything
lifestyle.
fun.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
it
Define
wasn't-
late, like
Yeah. Like stay up all night. It's definitely work.
Yeah,
work.
like it's not like pillow talk.
It's not
like
because
you
it's
said.
fun, yeah.
Yeah. It's not like I can't remember the last time that happened. I'm
No.
just awake because
Yeah.
this like
Of life.
Right.
And overthinking.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What do you think you're really good at, even if others don't agree? Mine's singing. I'm really good at singing. Like I don't know why.
Do you want to
I
give us
haven't
a
been
note
signed.
now while I think?
No, because I don't want to oppress everybody.
Okay, I
Like
understand.
it's that good. It's almost
I
Do you
hear
know
what
what
you're
I
saying.
mean? Yeah. I don't want you guys to feel less than what you are. Do you know what I mean?
I think I don't know actually. That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know. I've never really what do I think I'm good at? My
Yeah.
friends are like, no.
Even if they do agree, like just
I'm
something you
good
think
at.
you're really good at. Yeah.
I think I'm really good at assessing people's body language.
Okay.
I did forensics. I've got a forensic science degree, which no one really knows.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm good at clocking people. I watch
Right.
people's mannerisms, behaviours.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think I can tell. Like, and because I'm tall, I can always see everyone. So I'm like, oh yeah, that person's moving a bit mad. And I can see it from like 2 miles away.
Right, okay.
I think I'm good at being like the voice of reason. You
See, I
guys seem a
wouldn't
little
say
bit
that
shocked.
about you.
Wow. There was a lot of silence there. No, because my friends also, I always give, because I would like to think in my career I'm kind of unbiased.
Okay.
As in, like, I can look at things objectively. Like, sometimes I agree with the man them, sometimes I agree with the ladies.
Okay.
So that's how I am in my friendship. So my friends will come to me and be like, such and such has happened, and I'll be like, no, you were wrong, or no, they were right,
Right, okay.
or you shouldn't have done that, or maybe you're overreacting a little bit. Like, chill out. I'm that type of person.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I am, really, Tolly. I am.
No,
Like,
no,
trust
no,
me.
I believe you. Like
I
I
am.
said, you don't have to agree. Whatever you think you're good at, that's
No,
all
I
that
think
matters.
I'm quite good at that.
Okay, cool. All right.
For my own life, though, no. But to tell other people you're overreacting, I'm good at that.
Right, okay,
But
all right.
me, oh yeah, I'm calling my friends like, oh my God, he hasn't picked up the phone. It's only been half an hour, chill out. That's
You'll be okay, you're fine. Yeah.
my friend, I'm like, oh my God, why are you angry at him? Maybe he's busy.
But why was he busy?
This is what I'm saying.
Okay, cool. I feel like we're warm now.
Yeah.
Right, you guys good.
Toasty.
Do you know what? I'm going to go straight into it because I was talking to someone earlier about the idea of black love.
Right.
And if you think it's a niche, we need to talk about what it means to both of you. And if it actually means anything. I've said before, I lived in Nigeria for a while, so everybody was black. So it wasn't special. Like it was love, right? So what does it mean to you guys? Is it important? Do we need to talk about it?
I think it is important. Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's good representation. I think representation is very, very important at all times. And I think that not just for us, but for the younger generation as well, then the other younger generation. Like we was talking before about how things are just entrenched in people. Do you get what I mean? So I think that we have to make an active effort because like you said, we don't live in a predominantly black country. So because we don't, we then have to make a bit more of an effort, I think, constantly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely down to like the importance of representation, and I feel like you can only be what you see, right? So I think it's so important that visibly on all scales that we are representing what black love is, and it's visibly viable because then it's like acceptable to the next generation.
Yeah.
And I feel like I guess because it's so intertwined into our everyday lives, we might not. I don't think there necessarily needs to be a declaration of I'm black love, like what does that mean? But I think it's important that if we're talking about it from a commercial perspective, that we're making sure that it is as visible as every other type of love is.
Yeah, I feel like especially black women, we are limited in how many people we can be partnered up with.
Right, 100.
Let's be honest,
Agreed.
like especially of our generation, it's just like, oh, she's dating this person, this person, this person. I gave myself a rule that I was like, you're allowed 3 people in this industry.
Oh my God, my friend said that to me the other day.
How many are you allowed?
He was like, you've got about 1 more left, so send He was like, you are. I was like, oh my God, this way. He's like, you got about 1 more person. And he said about 3. That's what he said. He's
I
like,
think about 3.
you can't do like just chill. Like you can't.
Yeah.
But I find that unfair though.
It is unfair. It is
Because this is
absolutely
my
unfair.
world.
Yeah.
So
And
what am I
also,
supposed to
if you think
do?
about other people, like if I worked in tech, for example, you're allowed to date people you work with if you worked in tech, if you worked in an office, and it feels like it's like perfectly okay. But it feels like in this space, especially as black women who are so, people are quick to call you a name that your mother did not give you.
Right.
And they'll be quick to call you. And I think there's other celebrities. For example, Taylor Swift, who's been allowed to date everyone she's wanted to.
Right, exactly.
And it's had a great time doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you have to like pick accordingly. And then once you pick, you feel like, oh, you've used your chance there if it doesn't work out.
But I also think it's everyone's personal preference as well. Like there's people who don't actually want to date in the industry that you're in. So it's like almost like, why would you throw stones at a glass house? Like if you know you're gonna, and it's also your personal, like there's people that I know that are very much like, if they break up with someone, they never want to see them again. Whereas if you're dating in that cocoon, you know at every event, you're gonna see the same person. So it's your personal preference and what you know personally you can tolerate and what you can't deal with. Like, I'm a bit like that. If I break up with someone, I don't really want to see you gisting on the dance floor. I'm a bit like,
but also, and I literally thought this the other day because I thought, imagine breaking up with someone and just having to hear their song on the radio.
That's why I would never date a musician.
Oh my God.
Genuinely, because your success will piss me off.
Literally. I
all day.
I also thought, oh my God, imagine you're annoyed with someone, because there's been people that I've been annoyed with, I'm hearing you on the radio, I'm like, but you haven't even returned my call.
Yeah.
But here we are singing along to your song, and it's just like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't, I would love not to, because I hear what you're saying, Irene. I would actually love not to kind of date within the world that we're in, but I just don't know where to find the people that are not in this world, because that's where I am. Like all the events I go to are in this world. Do you know what I mean? It becomes this big old family almost. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's so difficult. I don't even know where to find them.
It's almost incestuous, because it's like someone else that's dating them before. Now you're like, oh, was that too close to home?
Now you've got to be doing up loyalty.
Girl code, boy code.
I have a rule for that. If I don't have your number,
what is the rule?
If I don't have your number in my phone, it's all game. Like it's all fair.
I can't lie.
That's a good
rule.
Because if I don't have your number in my phone to call and say, hi Irene, how are you?
But wait, you don't have my number. No, I genuinely want to know, would that be a deterrent to be like, oh yeah, this person used to date Tolly?
No, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, same.
Because I feel like we're cool with each other. But we're not personal friends. We're not. We're not personal friends.
Okay, so question: would you feel like you would need to say anything to would you feel like out of it not being awkward in a wider setting?
It depends how deep your relationship was. If it was your actual partner and you were dating, then I think I would, because of how we are now, I would probably, I would try and gauge what was happening there. And then I would speak to you and say, but it's not for your approval, it's to give you a heads up. It's like, I'm just coming to you respectfully to tell you we are talking or whatever, or whatever, that type of thing. But I have had that situation before where people feel like I should have maybe spoken to them, but my thing is that I don't have your number, or we don't even follow each other on the gram. So why am I now obligated to ask you if you're okay with me chatting to, and he wasn't even your man, you were linking. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I mean? So now I'm running.
Okay, so what we're saying is when it comes to love, does girl code count or not?
When it comes to love, I think it does.
Girl code counts for me.
It depends, within reason. Can I just tell you, it's within reason. I'm sorry. I'm saying it's within reason.
Okay.
Like my friends and all that kind of stuff, off. I wouldn't do it.
I hear that.
Remember, we said love, L-O-V-E.
Okay, but this is the thing. And also, it's so funny because me and my friends were having a talk about this the other day in the group chat. And I can't remember who it was. I don't know what happened, but we put it in the group chat. It was like one of those memes, and then my friend, and if your friend fancied someone, like she really liked him, but he wasn't checking for her and he liked you, would you go there?
No, I wouldn't.
And what?
I wouldn't.
If your friend really liked him.
If my friend really
and
liked
he
him,
doesn't like her.
I wouldn't.
And they've never engaged in anything. It's just her fantasy.
No, but your friendship is more important, babe.
Yeah, it is. But also, can I just say something? Yeah.
Savage.
It is, but also, my friend, you have to look at it from the other side as well. Say if I was attracted to him, we were attracted to each other. As my friend, you're actually being selfish. He's not checking for you, sis. So why are you now blocking my happiness?
I mean, I hear you.
That's what, you're technically blocking my happiness because you can't have it.
So harsh. Because I hear you. I
hear you.
If she was like, oh my God, if they were dating, I wouldn't. But if it was like this thing of like, oh my God, this guy at college and I really like him, or uni or my workplace, and then I kept happened, because this actually happened to me actually. My friend really liked this guy. We're not friends anymore, I guess, for this reason.
I wonder why.
She really liked this guy, really thought he was like this guy. She had a drink up and I came to the drink up
and he liked you.
And he kind of took a shining to me. And I was a bit like, oh, he's a really good looking guy, but I knew that she liked him. So I was very cautious of the situation. But he gravitated towards me and we were talking and we got along really well. Nothing happened. And she was angry that we was talking in the kitchen. And I was like, I just think it's really selfish. I think that's selfish.
Do you know what? It's a good point to think about, like, when it's time to be selfish when it comes to love. Because I think all of us here, right, our careers mean the world to us and what we do means the world to us. But is there ever a point where it's like, this love and relationship thing means so much more to me that I'd rather actually focus on that and stop other things?
But I do feel like if you're looking for love, you need to give it the same energy that you would give it for a project, or if you were to be commissioned for that job. The same energy that you would give that is, you do need to give it the same time, love, affection. You need to be focused.
You need to be focused. Absolutely.
However, I don't feel like you need to lose who you are for a relationship.
I hear what you mean.
But have you ever felt like who you are is having the relationship harder?
Right, yeah. So there was a time with me when I first started doing the Zeze Millz stuff, and obviously I was really, I'm so outspoken, but it was intense. You know, I was talking about this, talking about that. Yeah. And I feel like my friends would say to me, you're going to find it really hard to find a guy. Mm-hmm. And at one point I was like, do you know what? Yeah, maybe I need to just tone it down, because I really wanted like companionship or whatever. But then I thought, I've got different types of friends. Not all my friends are like me. I've got friends that are not on socials, are on socials, quiet, loud, outgoing, introvert, and we're all struggling to find men. So my thing is like,
even the quiet babes are single.
Right, do you know what I mean? Even the ones with 100 followers private, I don't want girls to be on Insta. They're still struggling, right?
Shut up. Let's stop earning money.
Right. Do you know what I'm saying? So if I could see that quiet babe equals happiness and nice house, kids, everything, then everyone's unhappy. So I should be quiet. That's not my real personality.
Yeah.
And I'm still, do you know what I mean?
Suffering in silence.
Right. So I prefer to just be myself. And I know that there's certain things I can't do, I won't want to do, but that's not my actual character totally. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's hard, it's really difficult. But I realise, why am I changing? Because everyone's single.
Yeah. And also it brings up that consistent conversation, is that, can women have it all? I think we can have it all, but I don't think we can do it all.
Ooh, that's a good one.
For example, like you can have the husband, the kids, the family, whatever version of all it is for you. I think you can have it, but I think at certain points, certain seasons, something is going really well. For example, if everything's popping and going great at work, your home life is probably a bit like it's not your main priority right now. Sometimes if home life is popping, work life is not your. I think you can have it, or I just don't think you can do it all.
Yeah, not everything is in season at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one thing women need to like remember, that of course you can have it all, but just be okay with knowing that it might not be the best at all of it all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing as well. And I think we're all in our 30s, right?
Yeah.
And we're all of black descent, clearly. Shock, we're black. So I want to talk about pressure from family, because my mom is the most talented woman at turning I promise you, anything. My mom would, within about 10 minutes, would turn it into, okay, but your husband. I remember one time, so random, this is how skilled she is. I did a race for life. Right. Did a race for life, came home, I was like, yeah, Mum. First she was like, did you win? I was like, no.
That's so Nigerian.
It's not that kind of race.
Did you come first?
Did you win? I was like, it's not that kind of race. And then she was like, you know, man, when you like strong women. I was like, what? She's like, you can't be running all the time, we'll make you muscly. I don't like that. I was like, how have we gone from me running for council to men not wanting me because I'll be too strong and too hefty
and be able to run too fast
because of what? So do you guys feel like it's a pressure thing that actually does happen, and do you feel it? Because I think we joke about it a lot to make it feel better for ourselves, but I know many of your friends who actually actively don't speak to their parents because of how much of a pressure it is.
Being Nigerian comes with its own restraints and struggles. And I feel like our parents are the best versions of themselves based on what was taught to them. Yeah. And I feel like we've had this open conversation. Right? They know what they were. They've come, obviously, a lot of us are first generation diaspora. We've seen a lot more, we've been around a lot more, we've experienced a lot more. Just even the fact of being women and being successful in our careers, like that's something that maybe our parents never had the same accessibility to what we had. So for me, I've had to come to terms with the fact of just like, my mum is going to be the best version of herself, of what she's limited, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that also comes with having frank conversations, and not everybody has the confidence to be able to do that. But it does get to a point where if you are feeling the pressure, there has to be that conversation. And like, even with my mum, I feel like the pressure didn't even really come from my mum. It's more from the aunties that when you go out, your daughter is still single. Yeah. Wow.
It's and I'm just like,
it's like everybody's business is your business. And I think you have to get a bit of tough skin, but also knowing that, like, you know, there's other priorities to you. And like, again, for me, the pressures didn't necessarily come directly from my mum. I think it was more her affiliates.
Right, okay.
And I think because in our culture, it is quite forward facing. So everything is about like how it looks, like culturally being Nigerian, it's very like forward facing. What do things look like? You know, legacy, the importance of family unit. You know, your family could be breaking down, but meanwhile, front of house, as long as everything's looking good, we move, you know? So I think it was more the external of people's opinions. And I literally and it was so mad because me and my mum through COVID had such a good time because we could talk about real things, like just, you know, and my mum was working throughout the pandemic, so she was literally seeing people dying every day. So I think it opened her mind as well to being like, wow, like there's more to life than just, oh, my daughter needs to get married and have babies and like, you know, and obviously everybody saw me on the show and like, you know, we had the whole conversation about freezing eggs, etc. But I think it was so important to know like where the external pressures were coming from, but actually having the confidence to be able to address them and say like, listen, this doesn't make me feel good. And I feel like there's other things to a successful relationship that don't necessarily get taught to us. It's not just the importance of meeting a man, getting married and having babies. Like, what about the values that this man is supposed to have? Like, what is love? What about the values that are encompassing in a relationship? Why don't we focus more on those ideals rather than just like, oh, you meet a man, you get married, you have babies. Am I going to be happy?
Exactly. And also, what if you don't want it? I think often many women don't consider, I don't actually want to get married, or I actually don't want to have kids, and it feels like something you can never say out loud. Because you said that you don't.
I'm like, I've thought about saying it out loud. So it's probably the first time I'm saying it out loud and like this, a public forum thing like this sort of thing. But I have thought, do I actually want kids? Like I've genuinely started questioning myself. Like, not that I don't, it's not a hard no, but I'm questioning if I actually want kids. Like you're saying, like we've romanticized having children.
How it's meant to go.
And it's hard work. I've started like reading, not reviews, but I've literally started, because everything in life.
Would you recommend kids?
No, because everything else in life, if you're going to buy a TV, do you not read the good and the bad reviews? Someone says, actually, this TV is really good. Someone says, no, sorry, it was rubbish. You know what I mean? So I've been like researching both sides, and I've been listening to like pods where women will say, like there was this one pod I listened to the other day, and this woman was saying like, I'm like going to stand firm and saying, I regret having a child.
Oh my God, I think I listened to that.
She's like, I don't regret my child. I love my child, but I regret motherhood. I hate it. I don't like it. And as I've got older, and I think as you get older, because I'm 33 now, I've got my life now. My life is forming how I like it. So when you have a child younger at like 25 or whatever, you're still developing. You don't actually know what your life is, and you make it around your child almost. Whereas I've, you know, career, whatever, I've made my life how I like it. So the idea now that I have to kind of bring someone else into it is kind of interesting. And also, I've never been one of those women that have been like, I want to have, you know, you meet some women and from the age of like 13, they're like, I can't wait to have a child, I want to have a baby, like it's going to be great, I just want to be a mum. I've never been that person. So for me, if I was to have a child, it's about me actually creating another human being with someone I love. That's the idea for me, like, and raising that person, that human being with the person I love. So it's the idea for me is having a family, like having a nuclear family, everyone, you know, and maybe that's because I didn't have that. I had loads of cousins, but I didn't have a mum and dad in one household. So, and then also that's probably why I don't want to do it on my own, because the idea of doing it on my own as well.
It's such a big thing. And I think that's something we all have in common, right? We're all from single parent backgrounds. So me and Irene are Nigerian, you are Caribbean. How does it work in terms of like pressure? Is it the same kind of outlook? Is it different?
So my mum, I think because my mum's single, she was single parent home, so I think she's not so, there's not that much pressure. The only time I felt a little bit of pressure was when I told her I didn't want kids.
Right, okay.
Not that I don't, I was thinking about if I wanted kids.
Want them or not,
so she was like, oh my gosh, why? Wait, she was like, but don't say that. And I was like, what do you mean don't say that? I was like, it's like, she said, don't say that. And I was like, well, I just don't know if it's for me. And then she kind of was like, well, what when you want to get buried and all these things? I was like, but I think just generally growing up in a Jamaican household, and I think a lot of it's like this in a lot of Caribbean households, is the woman is usually like the head of the home.
Right, okay.
So I've found like, although like Nigerian women are strong, I think you guys understand that.
We play the game.
You play the game very well.
Played,
Whereas Caribbean women, I speak for Jamaican women because I don't know what the attributes of every single other Caribbean person, but Jamaican women, very like headstrong. We're not playing the game. So it's like, I'm the head of the home, and the Jamaican men are cool with that.
Yeah, right,
so
okay.
They don't mind it. They're not like pushovers or anything, but they understand woman's probably going to call the shots and whatever. I grew up with my gran and my granddad in the same household, and my gran kind of, she was the OG. Like, it was her. Like, what my gran said kind of went, my granddad was just like, yeah, cool. He went out, made his money, came in, gave it to my gran. She looked after the household, whatever, that type of thing. And I've noticed that when I date, so I normally date African men, Nigerian men, right? Or Ghanaian men are a little bit more softer than Nigerian men, but Nigerian men and a Jamaican woman, that combination is tense.
Right, okay.
Because I've come from a household where I just see women calling the shots, and they've come from a household where their dad is obviously the head of the home.
Yeah.
So then when we come together now, my almost strongness is just like, what are you doing?
Relax.
Like, know when to kind of, and I'm like, because that's what I know. It's no. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've come from a household like when my auntie comes home and she'll sit on the steps and her husband will take her shoes off for her. Like all these type of things. All like Jamaican men, they're a bit more domesticated, I think.
Okay.
They, you know, so I remember I was dating one Nigerian guy and he said to me that his uncle would wait for his aunt to come home to eat because she would cook for him. And sometimes she'd come home from like a shift at the hospital and still he'd be waiting for the woman to cook.
That doesn't sound far-fetched. And that's what gets me about this idea of being like, you can't expect tradition from me when you're not fulfilling the full tradition. Because if their idea is you want a traditional wife, let me not work then.
Right, this is
like, let me actually really sit into my tradition then.
Let me do my job. Because it's actually a job. If I don't think like being a housewife is a job. You can't just be there. Your husband technically, if he comes home and there's not food on the table, he should maybe look at you and be like, babe, what's going on? Because this is your job. It's actually a job. It's not, I think the way people have made it now, it's like a luxury thing, like you're living a soft life and it's not, it's a job. You have to, that's your role now, whatever. So fine, but when he said that to me, I was just like, what? And I was like, but she's worked so hard. Like, he's been like, and he's at home, what do you mean? And he's like, well, that's how, why not? And that's when I was like, rah, that's mad different because that's not how I've grown up. Like, I didn't see that. Do you get what I mean? Like, my gran would cook and stuff, but also my granddad would go into the kitchen and do stuff and whatever. But also, again, there were roles. That was her role and that was his role. So I find the cultural differences quite interesting.
And I think even if you did see it, because I saw it, but I'm not doing that.
Right.
Look how knackered she looks. I'm not doing that. And maybe that's like the generational thing and how we are now as people. But I always think you can't tell me that you crave a traditional family when you want me to work, because it doesn't make any sense. Those two things don't go hand in hand.
And it's not fair either.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're technically both working out. So technically I'm doing two jobs.
At this point.
Because I'm going out to work, you're going out to work.
And then
I come home and I do another, and I got to do everything because that's my role. We should get a better job then, because you're not fulfilling your role technically. But I've liked growing up in a Caribbean household. I like it, but I also think that's why a lot of Caribbean women go for African men.
Right. Okay.
Because there's more culture.
Interesting.
There's more culture, I would say. Yeah. Because if you think about it as well, we came here before. So we've been westernized a lot.
Right, okay.
A lot. So there's certain
like
traditions.
You guys are third generation in.
Right,
still
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you guys have a lot of your traditions
that you still
hold on to, which I really actually admire.
Right, okay.
And I think that's why. And there's also, even just in parenting anyway, I think Caribbean and African parenting is totally different.
Yeah,
do you understand what I'm saying? It's a different vibe altogether. You know, I got to come home and tell my mum, like, I want to be an actress, and she's going to send me to drama school and all these kind of things. Whereas that might not be the case. But like, no, that's a hobby. Do that on the Saturdays. Yes. You go and do proper stuff. So there's a difference, and there's like the cultural difference, but sometimes it works.
Yeah. I say this a lot, like, I love my mum to bits and I respect her so much, but half the struggle she's gone through, I want to have nothing to do with.
Right, no. Exactly.
Like, I want to be nowhere near them.
Yeah.
And sometimes when she preaches, like, marriage and the importance of a man so much, I look at her, I'm like, this is so different to your story, though.
But that's probably because what she wanted, and
that's true.
Because of what she wanted, she knows how maybe she feels. Because my mum's like 60 now, and I wish my mum. I don't even know. I feel like I'm going to get emotional.
Oh my God,
I wish my mum could find somebody, honestly, because she's so like she like, and she just. I just think to myself, and then I look at her and I think, I don't want to be like that. No, I don't know why. Because it's not a sad thing, because my mum has a really nice life and she does what
my mum's lonely.
But I know she's lonely.
Do you know what I'd love for my mum?
Because the struggle's like finished now.
Exactly. We're gone, we're doing our
Everyone's flown out, everyone's doing their own thing.
My mum's have house, then I got her grief
And
back. I had to go to Jamaica, find some random young man and just have the time of her life.
As I've got older as well, I'm like, mate, I have one life. If I want to go to a dance and live lips bare man. I'm lipsing bare man. You lot are not telling me nothing. Because what? I should go home now and be sad because I'm worried about all you lot because I lips one guy in the corner. Why?
Also, speaking about that, that's when you think of like the idea of being a good girl, because that burden.
Oh, bye.
I reigned supreme in my life until my 30s, and I said, who has good girl benefited? Who's benefited of this good girl branding that you want? And like, so bloody what if you're not deemed as a good girl? And I think it's a generational thing. I think it's a cultural thing. This idea of like, you be good and then you're rewarded with a good man at the end of this because you held on tight to goodness. And I just think it's bull.
Honestly, like I said, I don't honestly, within reason, like I'm not going to be out here doing wild things or whatever. But again, who decides what's a wild thing? All these preconceived ideas that we have for women, you shouldn't be like, they shouldn't be like that. But who told us like, why can I not do this? Why can't I? So it's just me, as I've got older, I've started to question all the things that people told us growing up. You should be married, you should have, but I genuinely would like to be married because I enjoyed the companionship of somebody. So that's something that I know I would like. But all these other things, it's just, I've said also my ideal thing actually would be to be like a part-time mum.
Right, what does that look
So
like?
like someone with a child or children, and then I just get to be the mum when their children come over on the weekend. So I get that thing of like, I want to nurture somebody and be there for somebody, but it's like, if I still want to go to LA for a week, I can be like, bye, you know? That's your problem. Do you know what I'm saying? That would be like one of my ideal things. So recently I've been really open to men with children.
Okay, so I realised the older I've got, so when I was in my 20s, I really thought I was that girl in it. So I was like, he has to be this, he has to be this, he has to be this. And not that my standards have gone lower.
But they do say the older that you get,
You can scratch this one off.
Realistic.
You start striking through. Striking through the qualities.
Have his own house. Nah,
The market's really hard right now.
Let's have his own car. We can get Uber.
We can do Uber.
It's accessible. There's TFL night buses and now it's fine.
Like all these things.
But it's little things like I used to have height. I'm like, Slana, you are 5 foot nothing. How dare you say you want a 6'4" man?
I really like the tall guys. I just want to feel small.
I just want to feel small. I think that's what it is, right? And
it's a comfort thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm 5'11", so comforting is tough. But
how do you find that?
it is difficult. I'm not gonna lie, because this even if you wear heels, you know, there'll be times sometimes when you're out and people and guys can be like, oh, why are you wearing heels? You're tall enough as it is. And I'm like, well, why shouldn't I be wearing heels? Like, I feel like there's an element in taking pride and like standing tall is more than actually physically standing tall. It's more about like acceptance. And I've had to accept being the tallest person in the room a lot of the time from a young age. And I think that one of the great things about it is it's built my confidence so much. I used to shrink myself so much. I never even used to sit up straight. Like my mum used to always hit my back and be like, because I used to be like that, like hunch down so that I can like look at everyone, eye contact. And then I realized that actually it's my selling point. Like walking into a room and it's like everyone's always, they might not remember my name, but they'll be like, oh, that tall black girl. So it's like, I realized that actually it's something that I found so negative growing up, actually as I've gotten older is my unique selling point. I've got a business from it. Like, you know, you're almost memorable because people, like I said, may not remember my name, but always remember like that tall black girl in the room, you know? So I guess it was turning something that I saw as a negative into a positive. But dating, it is tough because it's like, you don't want to feel like you're intimidating or you're towering over. Even I've got to think about what I'm wearing because I'm like, oh, am I going to feel like Big Bird if I'm like in this like outfit or whatever? But you know, you're always conscious of it. And I think as I've got older, I've just had to, there's a real acceptance of self that comes with like being 5'11" and being confident with wearing heels and like just being who you are and putting that out there.
And the thing is, I think things like height has definitely gone, it's not as like, oh, it has to be this now. But what has happened though, with the older I've got, some things have gone higher.
Right.
So before, I don't think I used to think about career as much. Where I was, oh, whatever, cool, well, like whatever, innit? But I think now, not necessarily what you do, but financial stability in all of the senses 100%. Is so important to me now. And it's not in this kind of way of like, it's because I need you to look after me or anything. My ideal is there is a world where we're both together, and at one point you're like, you know what, I hate my job. I want to go fly a kite for a year. I'm like, cool, I've got us. Right. And then let's say I come to you to be like, yeah, you know what, babe, I'm tired of talking, you know. Like, I want to chill for, but you're like, yeah, cool, I've got us. And that's the ideal for me. As things change for you on your list, the older you've got.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. You start to think about things that are important, do you get what I mean, for you? And like you said as well, because I'm like in a position now, I think we all are, where there's a bit more freedom financially, like we're not millionaires or whatever. Well, I don't know, you guys might be keeping it on the low, like who knows? Like, do you get what I mean?
Just be humble with you guys.
Like, but we there's a level of like financial freedom that we're allowed that we have. So mine's the same. It's like, you don't need to be making like loads of money. You don't need to be this multi-millionaire. But again, like if I want to go away for a week to the Maldives or something, it's not you have to pay for me, but it's you can pay for yourself and I can pay for myself and we'll sort it out when we get there. But I don't want to be with someone that I can't do that. I want to be able to live life now. That's where I am. I've worked hard. I'm working hard. I want to be able to enjoy me working hard, and I would like to do that with somebody that is able to do that. Yeah. And that's not me looking down on anyone that's not able to, but what you find actually, what I've actually found, because I have tried it. I have tried to go out with guys that maybe don't make as much as money as me or whatever. And because of the type of guys I go for, the alpha kind of guy, there's always an issue. Yeah. They start feeling inferior to me, or they feel like I'm this. And then I actually, just because, which maybe is bad, I start looking at them sideways as well. Like, but why can you not afford, like, what is going on here? Like, what's happening here? And so I start resenting them, and it's just like, this is not going to work. So that's important to me as well. Just the level of like financial freedom that we can enjoy and do. Life is hard. Like, you know, I want to be able to do nice things, and that's one of them.
Like even things like politics are important to me now. Like, like we're going to have to maneuver around this world. How do you see this? And I feel like the questions I'm asking have changed now, because you're thinking about life with this person and not just this one date.
Yeah, 100%. I think as you get older, it's actually about your journey of self.
Yeah.
So it's the more you know yourself, the more that you know what you're kind of looking for in a person. But I feel like when you're younger, you do have these kind of like qualities and values. But as you get older, those qualities and values change, because you as a person change, your qualities and values change. So I also feel like, you know, on that journey of self, of like knowing who you are, and similar to what you said earlier, like when you're a bit younger, you're still finding out who you are. And the older that you get, you're like, okay, it's almost like all those relationships are a test to be like, okay, I like this. It's a bit of a pick and mix, isn't it? Like, okay, I like that. Or I know within myself that my career needs this. So the person that I'm dating needs to be 100% comfortable in his own skin to react in this certain environment. So it becomes more, like you said, about the values and less about like tick boxes of superficial, oh, he needs to be 7 foot tall, dark skin, beard gang, you know, Georgian wearing, like, you know, all of
that
those
was my tie. That beard gang was my tie.
To the T. So, but it's just almost a bit like, I feel like once you on that journey of self, your values for yourself are more aligned, so then you're clearer on what you're looking for in that person.
I think there's always that to think about and talk about. But I also want to talk to you, Irene, about talking about children and knowing if you want to have children. And you was on High Life when you spoke about your fertility, and it actually made me go get my eggs checked as well, because I was like, I'm in my 30s, never in my life has everyone ever checked my vaginal health.
But
you get an MOT on your car, right?
I get MOT on my car
every year,
pay insurance on it every year, but I've never actually thought, what's going on there, because you don't see it. And I think for a lot of women, it's not until you try that you realise that, oh, well, what's this? And because of like your story and what you did, I also went to go get like my eggs checked and just figure out what's going on. Then also, as black women, fibroids are a life. What was your experience?
So obviously people watch the show, you would have seen that I went to freeze my eggs, and I get asked a lot, like, why did I want to freeze my eggs? And again, for me, it was on a personal journey of, that's not necessarily the journey that I want to go down. Like, I'm not being like, oh, when I want to have kids, I want to defrost. People ask you, oh, can you just go and defrost it? And like, do you want to have babies that way? But it was like my plan Z. So if A, B, C, D, E, F, G doesn't work out, I've got this. And in our lifestyle, I feel like we travel a lot. Like, anything can happen. I think we are accessible to, we get on planes all the time, we're in cars, we're in different countries, anything can happen, right? So for me, it was like, I almost wanted a backup. I wanted a plan B. And it was important because I didn't really have many people that I could discuss this with, or know many people that could do it.
I don't know any black woman apart from you that did it before I did it.
Really? So I think for me, it was like, how do I want to alleviate that pressure of, oh, I'm getting older. The first question that when you meet a man is, oh, do you want kids? Like, I didn't want that to be like the most immediate first thing. So do you want to have kids? Like, you want to get to know the person, not just, okay, wham, bam, thank you, man. You need to have kids. But also, there was an element of me that wanted to feel like I'm taking charge of my body and like and ownership as well. So it was a quick process. It literally takes 2 weeks to freeze your eggs, but it is a lot. It is a lot mentally. You go through a lot of hormonal changes within the body. And also going back to what you said, you know, like I think the stats are like 85% of women now have fibroids, and on the higher end of that are women of color. And a lot of the time it's not until we want to have kids that we realize that we can't, or like it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us because you're now dealing with POS and like other things that kind of are high within our community that we don't necessarily discuss. But I found it so funny because actually when I came to your book launch, I think it come up in conversation about fertility, and I was like, oh, I'm freezing my eggs, and then literally there was a whole table like 20 girls like, oh my God, I'm thinking of doing that. I actually struggled when I was having my baby. So then it was like literally the whole table turned to fertility, and I was like, this is so amazing because for once I felt like everyone was being super open about their experiences, wanting to do it, wanting to have more questions, but also similarly people were sharing their struggles of, oh, do you know what, I miscarried twice, or you know. So I just feel like it was more of a conversation starter. And again, being Nigerian, I think within our communities, it's not something that we necessarily speak about. So on the show, obviously, a lot of people saw me on that journey with my mum and explaining to her what my reasonings were for doing it. And I think people saw my mum's reaction in the end when she was like, wow, like times have really changed. Like you girls are young babes, like you're doing things, you know? So I wish that maybe this was something that was more accessible for us in our times, because maybe things would have been different. Maybe, you know, like now my mum's doing her degree in her 60s because she's like, well, I've lived for my kids and now I want to do something for myself. Whereas maybe she never had that opportunity. Maybe that's something that she wanted to pursue. She wanted to do her own thing first. But, you know, again, at that time, it was about marrying, having kids. So I just feel like things have changed, and it was a way that we could really open up and start to have that conversation. So people always ask me, are you ready to defrost your eggs? And I feel like I put them on freeze for 10 years. I got 10 years, sis. I need to start thinking about the seriousness of it. But it does alleviate that pressure of like meeting someone and straight away it's like,
kids. I remember when I went to go get checked, I couldn't tell my mum. I told my mum, like, because I was like, she's just going to read it as something else. She's going to be like, what is that? You don't want to have kids or whatever. But it's like, I just want to figure out what my options are. And I don't want to be shocked in the future. I don't want to be, but I remember being really scared. I was so shocked.
Because you're the idea of maybe not being able to.
Exactly. And because I'd always, I think, ignorantly, I'd grown up thinking it's a given. Of course. And I think the older I've got and having more conversations with women, it's like, it's not a given.
No, it's not.
People struggle, people actually figure out that they can't. And also it's opened up my world to like different versions. I've got a friend that always knew she wanted to have a baby, and she was like waiting for a partner. She was like, I'm not waiting anymore. So she went about the process of it by herself. And it's like, yo, I rate that so much, because I think that's what it is sometimes, especially if you want a family, want a relationship. It feels like you are in this stagnant place where you want that person to start the next part of your life. And
no, it's true, but you are going to be so
much. I feel like I'm just waiting to start the next part of my life, but I hate that I have to wait for someone, because no other part of my life looks like that.
And I think that's why everyone talks about it so much, because it is actually, you can't actually just go out and do it yourself. You can't just date yourself, or you can, but who wants to do that every day? Like, do you know what I mean? So that's why we talk about it so much, because we are genuinely trying to figure out whoever you're interested in, how they operate. Do you get what I mean? We're trying to understand, oh, why do you think like that? Why is this? Why that? And then everyone comes online and has this person said this. What do you think of this? And it's just so, and also what is so mad about this whole thing is that there's actually no rules.
No, there isn't.
Because you will meet, and that's what makes it so mad. Because I could talk to you, you'd be like, oh, I met my boyfriend like this, or my partner like this. I talk to you, oh yeah, no, you don't have sex on the first date, because I waited for like 3 weeks, 3 months, and then you meet another girl. Oh yeah, we had the same night, we've been together for 10 years. And you're like, okay, so what do I do? Like, what happened? So it's just so weird.
That's why I find most perplexing about it, because I think with everything else, if I'm looking for a job, I know what to do.
There's steps.
I go on this website, I do this, I do this. If I want to pass this degree, I know what books to read, I know what to read. But this thing is like lawless.
Life is lifing.
Yeah, it's such a real life experience. It's just like, I actually don't know what to do. And honestly, the older I get, I think arranged marriages are not even the worst. Like, let's start setting people up.
But also, going back to what you said earlier about also one person, and you're waiting for this one person, and you might not get the forever after. I've started to maybe accept the idea, like, I might just have loads of little love situations in my life. I might not have just one guy that I settle down with for 20 years. I might get a good 4 years out of this guy, 3 years out of this guy. And then also I've started thinking about, who told us? Who convinced us? Of all the people in the world, we were only supposed to experience one love. Like,
I think that's what we talk about. When some people separate or divorce, they're like, oh, their marriage failed. No, what if it worked for the time it was meant to work for?
Right.
And it's done.
And that doesn't mean, I don't mean like polygamy and all those things. I literally mean, we're locked in, it doesn't work. Instead of seeing it as a failure, it's like, do you know what? I love that person. We had a really good time for 4 years, and now I get to experience another type of love. Do you know when I started thinking, did you watch that Sex Life? Do you remember on?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And she was battling with the safe guy and the old guy. And then at the end, she was just like, actually, I've got to experience two different types of love. Like, and I should be like, I'm actually fortunate because some women don't even get to experience any of this. They don't get that passionate love. They don't get that safe love. They don't get anything. So I'm like here for all the types of different loves I might receive.
We just love.
Yeah. So is there a world where it's like, you're because I have a thing where I think everyone should do a yearly checkup, like in relationships.
Okay.
Like at the end of the year, maybe the New Year's dinner, go for a meal. Hey, are we still in this? You still down? You still want to do this? You still not want to do this? Because I think there's certain conversations people don't have, just assume that everything's all right and everything is all well and good.
Yeah.
So if you were like assured a good 10 years of like beautifulness, but it was going to end in 10 years. It wasn't going to be a forever thing. Would you be happy with that?
100%.
100%. Yeah. Just to say, like, I did it and it was a great time.
Yeah, 10 years is a long... I honestly feel like in modern day relationship, I think if you get good 10 years out of modern, I mean, ones that start today, not ones that you've been together for 20 years already, because you've got that different foundation. Whereas the foundation in this current...
economic climate.
Yeah, in this society, social, everything, we are now, I think that to get 10 years out of someone is going to be like, I feel like that will be the time span for a lot of people's relationship.
Do you think we're a generation of not like our grandparents who are married for 60, 70 years?
No, that's not happening anymore.
Do you think?
I don't think that's it. I think it's done.
I think we live in a different time now.
Different time.
And I went to ask you guys the question. It's an open-ended question. If you guys could end it for me. So it is, my love is ...
My love is futuristic.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, futuristic in a way in that it's adapting to modern times, and there isn't any generational trauma attached onto what my love is. So it's about thinking forward and moving forward.
Nice. And what works for you guys?
And what works for me in my situation, and not what everybody's opinions or generational traumas or traditions or what society says a relationship would be. So my love is just what I want it to be, which is the future.
Nice, I like that. Zeze?
Very nice. I would say my love is consistent. Because I am a really consistent person. Like, if I really like you or I'm getting there with you, like, I'm consistent. You don't have to kind of like worry about me. Am I gonna, obviously my mood changes and whatnot, but I will always make sure you know that I love you, or I'm there for you, or I will try to make you feel safe. Do you know what I mean? And that's because I know what it feels like when, we all know what it feels like when someone's not consistent. And that makes me feel so bad. So I would never want to make someone feel like that. Do you get what I mean? But, because that's how I would like to be treated. So yeah, I'm very like, oh my God, I just want to make you feel happy. That's how I...
What about you, T? What's yours?
I said my love is home, you know, and it's the comfort, it's stable, it's always there, right? Like, no matter where you go in the world, you can have the time of your life anywhere else. At some point, you're going to want to go home.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it is this consistent, like, comfort.
Yeah.
And it's safe, like, feel how, like, happy you are at home. You're, like, vulnerable, you're, like, just free. And I want that in my love and in my space. So that's what I would say, guys. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Zeze, so much for this chat. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you think this generation is kind of not done for? Do you think long-term, go the mile, 30 years, 40-year relationship is something that we can do in our generation now? Thank you guys so much. Use the hashtag #MyLoveIs and chat to me. Bye.